Jobs unveiled a less expensive, faster and more powerful iPhone almost a year after the original device helped spark a surge of interest in smartphones and positioned Apple as a leading player in the field.
It now sells for $399 for an 8 gig iPhone, and we want to make it even more affordable. And I'm really happy to tell you that the iPhone 3G is going to sell for $199.
Well, there you go. Steve Jobs, just fantastic. Very theatrical always, these Apple launches. Joining us, Alexandra Bosnjak, telecoms media and technology analyst at Strategy Eye Digital Media. Apart from the price being slashed here and the black and white version being added to the mix, how much real difference is there in the new iPhone compared to the one that was launched a year ago?
It depends who asks this question. If you're asking, again, I will address the core differentiation that one has to have in mind when talking about iPhone. There's North America and there's the rest of the world. If you're talking to a North American consumer, it's great. It's going to give internet push browser functionalities. It's going to be much faster. It's going to look better. And these are all elements and features which will appeal to North American customers. Now, if you're talking to somebody in Japan or Western Europe or to a more sophisticated mobile consumer, these are things already almost there in the market. So it is just doing what the market expected for a long time and listening to the voices, both in terms of pricing and functionality. So not a big surprise, a good move, but something that we long expected.
And we've speculated about why this big cut in the price. Does it reflect a lack of product into the market? Have sales been slowing for the iPhone, forcing Apple really to embrace a lower price model?
Well, I'll bring a tennis analogy. If you play tennis, it's a drop shot move, really. Now, for North American market, competitors will probably have a hard time to run after Apple, so it stands a good chance to climb up from, say, 20% to probably 30%, 40% of the market share. But once again, if I put my global hat, where Apple, I believe the analysts will agree that has only about 5% of the market share, it's still going to have a rough road ahead. So what I'm personally, and we at Strategy are interested in to see how the iPhone will actually do within the 21 country outside the U.S. market, where it hopes actually to gain some certain market advantage.
How about its relationship with the mobile carriers and the fact that it's had exclusivity with a number of them and takes a revenue share? Is it going to have to change that approach in Europe where consumers are more fickle, I suppose, with their mobile carriers?
That is actually a very important question. This is perfectly, it's not clear to me personally whether it intends, is there a subsidy element to it. I think in certain countries they will have to be in order to actually have profits. And this is another area of my concern. Even though it is an old hardware, if you will, it is already 1 year in the market, so the market has matured. So there is the cost of development, which I presume, without really reading into depth of the cost of different device elements that go into the further extension of the iPhone 2.0, I do believe that it will have to push for more flexibility, and this is again a U-turn in terms of Apple's strategy. So it is positive, but it remains to be seen how it does globally.
The price seems very competitive, certainly when you get down under the $200 level, but I just wondered the timing of this launch, particularly as you're seeing in consumer spending crimped on the oil levels you're seeing in the United States, for instance, gas prices at $4 a gallon. This limits people's ability to A, upgrade, and to B, accept the fact that there's an upgrade in the market 12 months after they shelled out $500 to $600 to get this thing online in the first place. It's almost demand destruction.
Once again, at Strategy Eye, it is a U-turn, and it could actually, there is a danger to backlash to some of these early adopters. Once following the PR launch, reading some of the consumer blogs, one can really read a bit of backlash coming from those early adopters. So that's always a tricky bit, and I think Apple will incur some of the penalties from a consumer point of view for doing a U-turn relatively short following the initial launch. So from early on, in early days strategy, I believe, that should have gone lower with the price point in the early stages. Now with the U-turn, listening to the voices of the market, in America, it'll probably do well. It'll achieve scales and volumes. Globally, remains to be seen how it does.
It's funny how the market yesterday looked at the story and said, okay, this is bad news for Palm's Trio smartphone, and it's also going to be bad for RIM's BlackBerry. But to me, so far, these don't seem like comparable products. What do you think?
Good point. There's the whole enterprise segment where Research in Motion and BlackBerry has quite a long history. And one of the areas where Apple still has to catch on is the enterprise segment. And I do certainly believe once it passes to that, if it actually can win the race with Research in Motion on the enterprise front, that's when it's going to really be a competitive product. So globally, I would not discount Nokia and Research in Motion. There's still a really tough race ahead for Apple globally. In North America, it has better chances, but globally, it's still a long way to go for it.
And I think we should be talking about 4G, shouldn't we? Not 3G. There's someone catching up. Alessandra, nice to see you. Thanks very much for coming in.